way you think about Batman and his villains probably comes from a single show. If that sounds like hyperbole, I'd point you to an episode like this one. Because as you'll see, this changes everything, not just about Batman, but about the way I viewed animation growing up. This show's influence has probably reached something you love that you had no idea to this day owes itself to this. And it did a whole lot to be very, well, different.
Have I got a show for you tonight? It's loaded with surprises, mystery guests, and Christmas cheer.
It did this by doing literally the opposite of what almost all of the rest of the animation industry was doing. I once saw it written that if you know Batman today, you don't know comic Batman, you know animated series Batman. And what that person meant was that Dark Knight, Batman Beyond, even Gotham today is all influenced in one way or another by this show. In fact, writer Paul Dini also wrote Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, as well as an excellent comic run on Batman. It all started, though, by doing animation in the dark. The animated series was heavily inspired by Burton's Batman, but animation, well, different bat. To get the obvious out of the way first here, the show's distinct look is partially owed to black paper. Instead of using traditional methods, Batman's backgrounds are drawn and painted on black paper. This makes a huge difference. Shadows are no longer subtle background noise, they're characters. Light actually feels like it's cutting through the darkness, which directly supports the show's thematic motifs, and really, Gotham itself feels like it's emerging from that blackness. This black paper methodology isn't for show, it is the show's tone, and it impacts everything you see. Streetlights feel heavy, windows glow, interiors feel lit. By building from the dark, you visually support everything the show's writing does tonally. The light is what feels unique, displaced, which is exactly how a Gotham plunged into crime and villainy should feel. And this is supported by how it's animated. While the rest of the industry began looking for animation techniques to replicate things like Disney movies, Batman used limited animation to almost mythologize Batman. The show takes a very cinematic approach to animation. It only animates what matters, movements that support the action. It animates Batman as if at any moment he'll announce his status as a god. He's still stoic, literally statuesque, as driven home by this moment in the opening theme. Character designer Kevin Nolan did his job by trying to convey as much as he could, as he put it, with as few lines as possible. This gives the show, and in particular Batman, a distinct, very intentional look that makes everyone feel a bit like a shadow. Every moment feel like it can be a part of the dark, because silhouettes are essentially always what's in front of you.
And speaking of that, this is where Batman goes a step further in doing things differently. Very differently.
Film noir is a genre that you don't see utilized a lot in animation, especially not for this audience, and you certainly don't see a lot of German expressionism tossed into the mix. But here, you get that weird concoction. Lighting is everything in cinematography, and it is here for animation too. Hard shadows, those silhouettes, directional lighting. Animating on black meant that the lighting could be a significantly more interesting tool for the show than a lot of its contemporaries. You get frames like this, half-lit faces expressing moral ambiguity, questionable motives, film noir techniques like lighting through windows. You can mute the show and understand the tone and sometimes even the scenes just from the lighting. And then there's Gotham itself. Gotham is 1920s to 40s Art Deco. Early retrofuturism. It toned down the gothic elements of Tim Burton's vision and gave the city an elevated gold foundation. It's permanent and hasn't aged because this Gotham was not our past or future. It exists in Batman's time. If you want something to last, craft it outside of time itself.
But the narrative, the characters, once again, went in a different direction than even where they came from.
Batman the Animated Series didn't do what a lot of comic adaptations do. It wasn't directly adapting the comics. In fact, in some ways, it was rewriting them. Despite its art style, this isn't a show that's darker Batman. It's just smarter Batman, instead emotionally adult. Most of the series, when you take a step back and look at it, isn't a show about fighting crimes, but a show about understanding it. This creates a Batman much less about superheroing than it is about trying and failing to understand and fix people.
Nora! Nora!
A good portion of Batman's rogues gallery is here as people who become or already are desperate, not as villains who create desperation. At this time, Dark Knight Returns had changed comics. So did Frank Miller's follow-up Batman Year One. They were gritty, serious, dark, and this kept the seriousness of Miller's Batman changes, but removed the grit, gave it balance. It's part of why so much is inspired by this show. That balance worked.
But some of it was downright created or redefined by the show.
Rewriting Batman in some ways. This is Joker's favor, and this is the first appearance of Harley Quinn, a character created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm for the animated series, completely changing the complexion of the Joker, who he is, and even in some future stories, his origin. This is Heart of Ice, one of the best episodes of animation put to television. It completely rewrites Mr. Freeze, taking him from a hokey, infrequent joke of a Batman villain and turning him into a tragic, broken man doomed to a heart of ice after losing his only love, permanently redefining Freeze for future adaptations in a meaningful way, and in some ways changing the course of the animation industry and how these types of shows are written. Or the two-part episode Two-Face, which shows Dent's tragic decline into the villain through the pressure of society and representing it, figuratively breaking him in half. Once again, redefining the character from a gimmick to one deserving of empathy. Empathy, by the way, that Batman in this show affords all of these villains. Empathy that too many comic book movies and adaptations forget to write into their villains and heroes. Even See No Evil, an episode about a man who misses his daughter and becomes an invisible villain, symbolizes his role in his family's life. The people are always front and center. The villains are what are fighting to come out of the background. By choosing to find new characters and paint over old ones, rewrite, the animated series gave Batman and his villains a completely new complexion and way of dealing with each other. Despite where it aired, the show trusted its audience to see the maturity required to understand people. It asked its audience to connect with and see moral gray for what it is, something that plagues all of human existence. The Pariah once told Superman in Superman Space Age that humans don't believe most human beliefs because they're true, they believe them because they're flattering. Batman the Animated Series asked you to believe in the unflattering side of people and the world, and then showed you what it looks like to meet that world with empathy.
Who are you? I'm your worst nightmare.
And at the heart of all of this was Kevin Conroy, the voice and soul of Bruce and Batman, a Juilliard-trained actor who played across from Mark Hamill as Joker, Luke Skywalker. These roles weren't phoned in by people who at the time some considered beneath them. Instead, they were legacy and character-defining performances that would shape how Batman and the Joker sound for an entire generation. This was exceptional acting work done by exceptional actors who cared deeply about the work. Actors who also inspired a generation of voice talent to enter the space. Batman the Animated Series is Batman made by people that truly understood the character and built every part of the show, from the paper to the lighting to the characters to the voices, to support the story they were telling, and rewrote what Batman could be, and in some ways, what animation could be. Even as the show changed from season to season, evolved and shifted as a style was altered, its foundation remained. And its legacy extends far beyond animation and continues to reach film, gaming, and the very medium it was initially built on. But I think the defining attribute of the show to this day is that care. It's not influence. A Batman that cares about what's under the mask by people who care just as much about drawing that mask. A bat signal to artists all over the world, a beacon of hope, a reminder to make what you love and love what you make.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Well, that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed this one, press that like button down below. And also, I am curious today, what show do you think is the best looking animated show of all time? And as always, hit subscribe so you don't miss anything coming to the channel. And that little bell, that just makes sure you're actually notified when something comes to the page. So that little bell so you don't miss anything. And as always, this has been